Thank you for attending this celebration of Kent Clayburn's life. As we all know, Kent was an amazing person, dedicated husband, father, brother, scouter, and friend to all who knew him. Kent was the person who was fun to be with, but if needed, could have the hard conversations that always led to results. Kent was a mentor of mine and a true friend, and he will be missed. He was devoted to doing the right things and helping other people, especially young people around the world that he would never even know. On behalf of the Boy Scouts of America and the National Executive Board, Constance, Lexus, Neil, thank you for sharing Kent with us. Kent has helped make the world a better place through his dedication to young people. I will now turn the program over to our Master of Ceremonies, Rabbi Peter Hyman.
Thank you, Dan. I'm honored to participate. Sad that we have this, but we are here to remember the life of a great scouter, and dear friend. Let me begin with these words. The mysteries of life and death are beyond human understanding. We are perplexed and overwhelmed when pain and anguish befall those whom we love. In sorrow, confronted by death, the death that has taken Kent from our midst, we feel our frailty. Like delicate flowers, we flourish only for a day. Eternal God, shepherd of us all, guide us, your flock, with love and with compassion. If in our grief and desolation we stray from you, do not abandon us, but draw us closer to you. Grant solace and comfort to those who mourn. May their lives together help to sustain them and add to the blessing which is theirs in the memory of the life we now honor. In the valley of the shadow of death, beside the still waters and in green pastures, you, O Lord, you are our shepherd. Be our strength and our shield, our stay and our comfort throughout all our days. And let us say, Amen. And now I am privileged to introduce Kent's beloved wife, Constance. Constance, please come forward and share thoughts with us now.
On behalf of the Clayburn family, I want to thank all the scouts that put together this virtual memorial, especially Luce Paulson and Reese Kilby. Thanks to everyone who contributed and all of you who are watching. We're so grateful to have this opportunity to remember my husband, Kent Clayburn. I met Kent at a college party. We had a great conversation and danced a bit, which was impressive as he was on crutches. By the end of the evening, he had asked me out to lunch the next afternoon, and from that point forward, we were a couple. I knew he was a winner from the start. That's how our story began, but I'd like to tell you a little bit about Kent's story. He started his path to success as a kid who sold his mother's meatloaf sandwiches at school. He also made and then sold creepy crawlers at school, which was such a hit, the principal had to step in because kids were spending their lunch money and parents began to complain. He always had change in his pocket to buy treats at the local store, which was a short bike ride from his home in Stockton, California. He was the boy who always had a job, whether it was junior janitor, after school sports coach, or golf caddy. And Kent told me that as a kid, he had set a goal to work hard so that someday he would become a member of a golf club. That goal became a reality as an adult when he became a member of the Olympic Club, the Pacific Union Club, and the Orinda Country Club. And later he actually did serve as president of the Orinda Country Club. As a college kid, he worked at the ironically named Temperance Liquors. The store also sold wine. Kent worked out a deal, of course, with the owner that he would regularly work the closing shift for a combination of money and wine. The owner was happy to oblige as he couldn't get employees willing to work the late shift. And also at that point was the beginning of Kent's interest in learning and collecting wine. Even early on, Kent was working, planning, and achieving. We can't talk about Kent without mentioning sports. He was a gifted athlete. Track star, football star, basketball, baseball, you name it. He had an outstanding eye-hand coordination and picked up skills easily. He loved playing sports and he loved coaching sports. And Kent always remembered that sports are a game and they should be fun. He coached our children's teams and later volunteered to coach the local high school boys basketball team. Kent was one of those rare people who connected with everyone that he met. He really, really liked people. Because of this, he was a wonderful mentor, and he felt great satisfaction at helping people reach their potential. These qualities led him to have many friends with different interests and opinions, and it also is what made him a great leader and team member. As I speak these words, I am hearing the word was over and over. How can a bold and bright spirit like Kent's be in the same sentence as the word was? I don't know and I don't understand, but I would like to share a few things with you that Kent did love. He loved analyzing the stock market. He got so much joy in making money for his clients. He looked forward to his morning calls, checking in with people, hearing about their lives, and helping them plan their future. He loved to talk on any subject, and why not? He read 4 newspapers a day. He was up on all the latest. He loved everything about scouting. The outdoors, hiking, building, learning, bonding, and particularly later he enjoyed so much finding opportunities for youth to enjoy and grow from the scouting experience. He loved watching sports, especially Warriors basketball, Giants baseball, and Premier League soccer, Chelsea. Kent loved to travel and he was the best travel companion. He highlighted and memorized all the salient facts from the travel guides, especially where to shop and where to eat. Plus, he was the human compass, always knew where we were and how to get where we wanted to go. More importantly, he was just so much fun. He loved wine and food, but wine more. He loved reading, and the last book that he read was The History of the British Empire, because he wanted to brush up on all the data, so he had it just right. He loved statistics. It may surprise you that his favorite book was Gone with the Wind. He was a true romantic at heart. He loved his friends, and he shared a special bond with each and every one of you. He loved fishing and hunting and being in nature. He loved introducing our son-in-law, Ernie, to the joys of sitting in a duck blind in the cold early mornings. And he also loved being a dad, and our daughter Lexi will speak with that. He was the dad every kid could possibly hope and wish for. And also he was just the most wonderful husband. He was a wonderful partner. He was so much fun to be with, as you all know. And I just miss him so much. And I'm glad to have the opportunity to share this with you today. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening.
Hi. I had the privilege to meet Ken in Nicaragua about 17 years ago during a scout event close to the beach. And at that time, I remember the dress code of the event asked to all the participants to wear long pants and shoes in some parts of the agenda. And I remember that after some talks and some activities that all the participants did it, Ken just get back to me and say, okay, you know, this is crazy. Sorry, but I'm not from the United States, I'm from California. So I will wear my short pants and flip-flops by now. So after that, I just followed him and said to me, okay, Ken is totally right. No more dress codes. And well, years later, I had the great experience and opportunity to be with him in the Inter-American Scout Committee, where he became a truly friend, mentor, and well, I become also like a member of the Ken's Flip-Flops Club, of course. I always admire his sense of humor and his fascination of city life in a very positive way. He always said to me many times, okay, Leo, the life is a marathon. Every day and every moment counts. The life is not easy, but here we are, So we need to try to have fun and work hard. And I always remember when he said, all good, no worries, we will find a way. This was Kent's expression that clearly showed to me his strength and his positive attitude to life. Kent was a gift for our world, and a person that really inspired many people to see life in a very simple and special way. And he was always very proud of his family, and he never lost a moment to talk about his love for them. Well, I just want to say thank you very much, Kent. Thank you very much, my friend. Muchas gracias. Thanks for your great spirit, your friendship, and the love to all. I will miss you so much, my friend. Thanks for being always there. And of course, an angel is now in the heaven now. Well done, Ken. Well done. Thank you very much.
And now we are privileged to hear from Ken's daughter, Alexis. Alexis, please share with us your thoughts.
Hello, and thank you for everyone joining in to celebrate my dad. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Alexis, Ken's daughter. It's surreal to even be sitting here to talk about my dad. It has been a pretty brutal past several years for my family, and my dad was always the optimist holding everything together. It's impossible for me to even know where to start when it comes to my dad and how much I love him and how proud I am that he's my dad. He was one of a kind, larger than life, and the most optimistic and positive person in the world. He always had a big smile on his face, and he was always ready to have fun. He could find a seat anywhere in the world, and within moments, he would have a group of people around him. He'd be holding court, and everyone would just be soaking up every ounce of him and everything he had to say. People just gravitated to him. His energy was contagious. He was a force like no other. He brought peace and calm along with laughter. He was a scout, a philanthropist, a conservationist, a businessman, a coach, a wine connoisseur, a mentor. The list could go on and on, but above all else, he was my dad and he gave me the world. My beliefs, my ideas, and my take on life is all because of him. I would be completely lost in this world without him, and I can't even begin to imagine how I'm going to navigate this world without him. There's nothing like a bond between a father and a daughter. And my dad and I took that bond to another level. Ours was magic. We were best mates and always had the most fun together. We enjoyed many father-daughter dinner dances from my young days at a rent-a-country club filled with balloon hats and face paint, to more sophisticated affair of black tie evenings at the Pacific Union Club with vodkas up with a twist and deep live conversations in the domino room I'll never forget. Take Your Daughter to Work Day was one of my favorite days of the year, getting all dressed up to go into his office in the city and seeing what my dad did every day at work. I just thought it was the coolest thing. My dad loved what he did. He loved his clients, and he was happy getting up every day to work and taught me how important that is. I was always so proud that I got to go into the office and be Ken's daughter. Along with the bond, there are the hugs between a dad and his little girl. My dad has always been beside me no matter what. A hug from my dad always made me feel like things were going to be okay. And those squeezes from my dad got me through the hardest moments of my life, along with the most special. No matter my age, a toddler to teen to adult, I never outgrew the cuddles with my dad. My dad was always by my side and me beside him, no matter what, till the very end. My dad was an amazing father to my brother and I. He always looked at Evan and I as equals, even as kids and teenagers. He always let us be us and give us every single opportunity. But that's the thing about my dad. He's so easy to talk to. He saw people for who they are and let them be just that. I'm pretty sure that most everyone who comes across my dad's path felt like that they could be completely themselves. He just had this energy and spirit about him that brought out the absolute best in people, be it his friends or mine and my brothers for that matter. His clients, a sommelier at a restaurant, a sales associate in a clothing store, a kid on a basketball team, or a scout on a trip, he could bring people to life because he was so full of life himself. He knew that everyone is special and everyone is worth the time. And although he would always say and joke, "It's all about me," when you see his achievements he's made in Scouts, his awards, some of which are behind me, and all of his volunteer work, you will know that he was about so much more, and it really wasn't about him at all. My dad was about, life was about so many things, but first and foremost, it was about our family. My brother and I had a magical childhood and a family life you only hear about in fairy tales. The bond between my parents, Ev and I, is truly one of a kind. Our closeness with one another just continued to grow and become stronger and stronger as time carried on, as my brother and I grew up and got older. My husband Ernie always said our close-knit family of four was the hardest group to be led into. Not because we weren't welcoming, but because the four of us were best mates, just the tightest unit that had the most unbreakable bond. All growing up, Evan and I would joke about my dad being an international man of mystery, always going to foreign and exotic places with his work with the Scouts. His love for traveling was a huge part of my dad. And because of my dad, we got to travel the world together as a family. And those trips around the globe and across the country are the happiest moments of my life. The four of us had so much fun together. We were always so happy together, spending time, just us, going to museums, exploring different cities, having exceptional dinners or dining experiences, as the Clayburn family says. My dad taught us at a very young age how important it is to travel and learn different cultures, see famous art, and experience life outside our own little bubble, and always have a sense of adventure, which would probably explain why he ended up with two very artistic and adventuresome children. He did a good job. Going on adventures was one of my dad's specialties, which is no surprise, given he's the ultimate scout. Whether it be traveling in Europe, a weekday lunch, or a shopping trip to the city, going to concerts and seeing live music. We saw so much live music together. My dad loved music so much. He could make the best playlists. I'm sure many of you have danced to them as well. Everything with my dad was an adventure. He made everything feel special. He always lived in the moment, no matter how large or small. He also lived by the rule that there's always a good reason to open a spectacular bottle of wine. My dad will always be my hero in life, and I can't say it enough how proud I am that Kent's my dad. Every decision I made, my dad was my first stop I would go to. We'd chat, we'd break it down, and whatever I landed, he supported me 100%. He guided me, but didn't impose any of his personal feelings on me or what I should do. His positive outlook on life was such a support to me when I needed to be lifted up. He was always there to show me the bright side of things. It's going to be so hard to navigate this world without him, but he taught me so much. And I can only hope that even in my deepest sorrow, I will be able to see the positive and the light, just like he spent my life teaching me how to do. Evan and I are so lucky we have you as our dad. And I hope that you and Evan are together now. I sure hope that there's a Philmont camp up in heaven, because I know that that's where you'll be. I love you, Dad. Thank you for everything.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ernie, and I am Ken's son-in-law, and this is Hazel, Ken's granddaughter. And I know I've not met a lot of you out there, but I hope that changes here in the near future. Kent always gave me the advice to keep speeches short and sweet and to the point. So I'll try to do that now, but I'll start with a story of a time where he gave me that advice and I did the absolute opposite, which happened to be on my wedding night. When it was my turn to give a speech, I was a little overserved and I grabbed that microphone and I went center stage and I started telling jokes. I started throwing high fives, scanning the crowd, roasting people. And by the time I got to Kent, he looked me in the eyes and he laughed and he smiled and he yelled, "Land the plane." So I use that as my sign to wrap things up. So thanks, Kent, for saving me that night, bud. Kent came into my life at a time when I needed guidance. I needed mentorship. I needed help improving personally and professionally on how to become a better businessman, how to become a better person, how to become a better partner, how to become a better husband, a better father. Kent provided me guidance, and I will ever be grateful for him on that. I spent a lot of time with Kent over these last couple of years. We traveled, we went to Amsterdam, we went to London, we went to a lot of sports games, we watched a lot of sports games, we drank a lot of wine. And most important to me and close to my heart, I got to spend 2 seasons duck hunting with Kent, sitting in a blind, watching the sunrise, sharing conversations and closeness in situations that you don't get to spend a lot of time with people, unusual circumstances. And Kent passed that enthusiasm down to me, so I'll ever be grateful for him for that. Just like that night in my wedding, I can see Kent right now sitting front row yelling at me to land the plane. So I'll finish by saying, Kent, I love you. I miss you. I'm forever grateful for your friendship. And I promise to always take care of our family. And just like this plane I'm supposed to be landing, I wish you were in this plane with me, because I know it'd be going somewhere fun, and I know it'd be going business class, baby. So thank you, Kent. I love you. Talk to you soon, bud.
I'm honored to introduce Thijs Stauffer. Thijs is a longtime Scouter, an international commissioner. He was chair of the European Committee, a member of the World Scout Committee, and immediate past chair of Kandersteg International Scout Center. He's a member of the KISC Foundation, its board, and also a volunteer with the World Scout Foundation. He and Kent have met often, and they were very good friends, both as scouters and on a personal level. Thijs.
Kent, my friend, there are a few things that I want to tell you. Robert Baden-Powell once said, "Try to leave this world a little better than you found it. And when your turn has come to die, you can die happy in the feeling that at any rate you have not wasted your time, but that you have done your best." Nothing could be more true than this, Kent. You have been the example of not wasting your time and of not having done your best. I remember countless moments that you literally not wasted any time and got things simply done. Not only in the work you did for BSA as a member and as an international commissioner, but also as the wonderful, honest, and dedicated human being that you were. Having worked together with you over so many years on so many different subjects makes my words today almost impossible to reflect all that you have done. If there were a giant bronze wolf, yours would be the biggest of all. And you know, Kent, there are so many happy moments. I remember us talking in a lounge of some hotel somewhere in the world about life, how meaningful it is to be working in scouting and to take all persons seriously, be it on the right or left end of the political spectrum, to be in scouting or not to be in scouting, but to feel free to choose whoever one wants to be. These values we shared and talked about for many hours, with a glass of wine, whiskey, or maybe beer. We worked together at jamborees, you guided me on some politics, and yes, I guided you on dealing with Doris in the Crystal Bar next to Kandersteg International Scout Center when you were representing BSA on the KISS committee. And believe me, anybody needs guidance when being in her bar. Many pinkies, committee members, guests, and even the King and Queen of Sweden underwent the Doris test. You stood firm, however, and made the exception, and withstood her whims. And that's what I will remember most of you, Kent. You stood the remarkable exception. May you rest in peace.
It is now my pleasure to introduce Joran Hagerdahl. Joran has been involved in the scouting movement in various roles since age 8, interestingly enough. Joran was the global director of scouting development at the World Scout Bureau and has been very much involved in the World Scout organization for many, many years. We were fortunate to have him as a leader and help guide us. His influence still remains strong. It's my pleasure to introduce Joran Hagerdahl, who is a close friend of Kent's as well.
My name is Joran Hagerdahl, and I am from Sweden. I met Kent the first time in 2004 at the Eurasia Regional Scout Conference in Baku, Azerbaijan. It was a small conference. I think we were 5 international participants, 4 from Boy Scouts of America and then me from Sweden. The conference language was Russian, there was no translation. So when I heard that the BSA team was planning a tour of Old Town Baku, I approached them, asked if I could join. I was met by Kent's big smile and I joined the tour and we had a really, really good time. After that, we continued to meet at different international scouting events. Kent and his friends were there representing Boy Scouts of America, and I was there trying to sell the idea of having a World Scout Jamboree in Sweden in 2011. During this time, Kent and his friends got more and more engaged in this project and helped us a lot. So in 2005, when it was decided that the Jamboree would be in Sweden, we approached Kent and asked if he would be part of our planning team and one of the deputy camp chiefs. Kent accepted and meant that he would travel to Sweden and to Stockholm and Kristianstad several times the coming years. He was an important part of our planning structure, providing his knowledge and his international experience into the project. But it also meant that Anna and I could host Kent in our home in Stockholm and we could do social things together, and we had a great time. When we came to the Jamboree in 2011, Kent and I was joined by my wife Anna and Kent's wife Constance as member of the delivery team, but also by Constance and Kent's son Evan, who played with his band from San Francisco on the stages around the Jamboree site. After the Jamboree in Sweden, we continued to do things together. The last big thing we did was actually the World Scout Jamboree in 2019, where Kent was part of the leadership. We had a good time in West Virginia, and it was a really, really good Jamboree. I don't think there is anyone in World Scouting that I have laughed so much together with as Kent, but also no one that I have had so good discussions about life, about scouting, about sport, and other important things. And I will really, really miss that. Constance and Lexi, Anna and I are so thankful that we have been invited into your family, been able to visit you in San Francisco and do things together. And we will hope to continue that over the coming years. We are also thankful that you have borrowed out Kent to scouting and to us. And Kent will be so missed by so many people. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Neil Clayburn. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Kent's brother. Kent loved scouting, and he loved all of you that shared his scouting adventures with him. I think that's because he comes from a scouting family. His son Evan and my sons Nate and Nick are the 4th generation of Clayburn Eagle Scouts. I guess you could say that scouting is kind of a way of life for us. It was certainly a way of life for Kent. He believed that the scouting movement and individual scouts living out the Scout Oath and Law could make the world a better place. And he certainly did. I think his life and all of you can attest to the fact that the world's a better place because Kent was here. We all miss him, and he was the very best brother I could ever have hoped to have. I take solace in remembering all of the good times and all of the adventures we had together, and I hope that each of you can do that as well. Finally, I just want to thank each of you for your prayers and your support and love that you shared with Kent and with our family. Thank you.
I'm now pleased to introduce Grecia Barcena. Grecia has been a scout since she was 6 years old. She's a nature lover, a permanent traveler, having traveled all over the world, and a close and dear friend of Kent's. She was a member of the Dream Team #2 at the World Scout Jamboree and had the honor of working with Kent in the operations pillar as youth lead. Today, she is a youth representative to the World Organization of the Scout Movement and a member of the Executive Board of Scouts de Mexico. We are pleased that she is with us and to hear her words. Thank you.
Hi everyone. Here in Mexico, some indigenous communities believe that when a family member passes away, he becomes part of the energy of the cosmos and part of nature. This energy is in charge of keeping water cycles working, and as a consequence, life in the planet works. For me, Kent is water. Since the very first time I met him, he always made sure everything was working well, that I was feeling part of the team, and that I was understanding everything that we were doing together. He always was a strong believer of the power of youth, and he always pushed us to be better every time. He made sure that we had every tool and everything that we need to prove ourselves and others that we were capable to take on big responsibilities. Kent is water because of his huge amount of positivity, his ability to bring people together, because of his determination, and because of the huge heart he had to keep friends all over around the world. I'm pretty sure his legacy will remain with us forever, and that we will honor everything that we live with him. Well, so I would like to cheer for life and cheers for Kent.
It is now my privilege and honor to introduce the 10th Secretary General of the World Organization of the Scout Movement, Ahmed Al-Indawi. Ahmed, before taking on this position, served as the United Nations Secretary General's envoy on youth and was the youngest senior official in the history of the UN. He has taken over and led us with insight, vision, and energy. He and Kent were dear and close friends and worked together on a number of projects. I am honored and pleased to present Secretary General Ahmed Al-Indawi.
Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to join Kent's virtual memorial service. We're all gathered to honor the memory of an extraordinary man, a man who have lived a life of service and integrity and inspired all of us. Now, the news came as a shock. The past few days have seen the entire scouting community coming together to honor and reflect on the legacy of Kent Clayburn. Kent was a remarkable leader, an individual who spent his life following the scouting values and dedicated more than 5 decades of his impactful life in service towards the scouting at all levels. In our scouting global family, Scouts will remember Kent for his thoughtful and gentle approach, his deep care and insight, and his ability to connect almost with anyone. As BSA's International Commissioner and before as a member of the BSA International Committee, Kent traveled the world and experienced scouting in more than 50 countries and devoted his attention and energy to support young people around the world. He brought his professional expertise in finance and his generosity and love for supporting scouting to help scouting raise, invest, and manage and allocate its resources more effectively. Kent's scouting resume goes long, not only in titles, but equally in achievements and impact. He served as a vice chairperson of the Inter-America Scout Committee, a chairman of the investment committee at the World Scout Foundation, and as a chairman-elect to the World Scout Foundation. But probably from the very many titles he carried during his career, the most impactful ones and the closest to his heart were always when he was close to young people, as Deputy Camp Chief for the World Scout Jamboree in Sweden, and as the Director of Operation, as we all remember, at the 24th World Scout Jamboree in West Virginia. His smiles and energy were contagious. We all wanted to be around Kent, all wanted to speak to him, to get a hug, and to chat, And even when it was most busy for him, he was always smiling, whistling, and motivating everyone around him. I will remember Kent always as a friend, as someone that I looked up to, and probably as the American with the most knowledge of international soccer. Nobody even coming close to his knowledge of sport, his love for anything that brings team together. His ability to connect with anyone and to be a bridge builder allowed him to carry some impossible jobs at the same time. Between the Jamboree, the National Commissioner of the Boy Scouts of America, and his role at the foundation, he was able to create triangles and bring people together. And I always kept telling him, you are the best bridge builder I have ever seen. You can bring any two together and any two ideas, converge them into a better idea and command people so they can find a way forward. I enjoyed very much working with Kent, getting to know him, and I will always cherish and remember that moment at the World Scout Jamboree when we hugged and we both were in tears at the closing of the Jamboree, and I know how much he gave from his heart. Kent, I can only remember him with words from Hamilton: who lives, who dies, who tells your story? Every other founding father's story gets told. Every other founding father's story gets to grow old. And when you are gone, who remembers your name? Who keeps your flame? Who tells your story? And when my time is up, have I done enough? Will they tell your story? My brother Kent, for listening to us up there, you have done more than enough, and will keep telling your story and inspire more young people by the good deeds you have done. Thank you.
Also joining us from all over the world, all over the scouting world, we have folk who want to share their memories, their hearts, and their feelings at this moment about our friend Kent.
With all the grieving, there's one comforting thought, and that is that when great women and men leave us, they don't really leave us. And the best way I've seen this expressed is with respect to a gentleman by the name of Stephen Mather. Stephen Mather was the first director of the National Park System in the United States. And there are memorial plaques for him in various national parks. I saw one on the south rim of the Grand Canyon a few years ago. And the last sentence on that memorial plaque is just beautiful. It was true, is true, will be true for Stephen Mather. And it is true, and it will be true for Kent. And it reads, there will never come an end to the good that he has done. Thank you, Kent.
Hi, this is Scott Sorrells. Thank you for the opportunity to offer a few comments about our friend Kent Clayburn. I've served as National Commissioner while Kent has been our International Commissioner of the Boy Scouts of America. He was also part of our senior leadership team for the World Scout Jamboree that we held in 2019. And he made such an impact in that role, and it will forever be part of his legacy. Baden-Powell had a saying to the effect that we ought to try to leave the world a little better than we found it, and that we can die happy knowing that we have done our best. As I've reflected on Kent's passing and the shock that comes with that, even after having known of his health journeys over the last number of years, the impression I am left with is what an extraordinarily gifted individual and what an extraordinary life he lived, and the difference he made in the lives of scouts, youth and adult, all around the world. he had this positive, infectious attitude that he brought to every aspect of his life. And when you pair that with an extraordinary ability to accomplish things, it's easy to see how you can make a difference in this world. One of my fond memories of our time together as we traveled the world, preparing for the World Jamboree, was all of the times he talked about his family. I heard countless stories, countless times of his dating of Constance. I heard all about Letzi and all about Evan being the fourth generation of Eagle Scout in this family. And even though I haven't spent much time with either of them, I feel like I know them so well. I feel like they should be my adopted kids. And we're blessed that Ernie and Hazel have joined the family and that Kent got to spend time with them. And also a special thanks to Neil Clayburn, his brother, for his support along this journey. Kent called me shortly before his passing, and he wanted me to express to the Scout family that he was okay, that he was at peace, and that we should remember him as we last were with him at a Scout gathering. For me, that was at Philmont Scout Ranch shortly before his passing. I am so glad he got to make that trip. And of course, our time at the World Jamboree will never be out of our hearts, of our time together. He had this saying that I'm sure some of you have heard before. And he used it even in the context of the toughest conversations we could be involved in about any subject. And of course, the saying was, "It's all good." And as I reflect on the difference that Kent made and his contribution to us as individuals, to the Scouting movement, to the human race, it's all good. He made a difference. He lived an extraordinary life. And I am grateful we were able to hike the Scout Trail together. And he will forever be in our hearts and in our memories. Thank you all.
Thank you, Scott. And just before we conclude, not to rehash and reiterate, but just a couple of thoughts about my friend. We shared many things together, many scouting adventures, many other kinds of realities as well. Kent was loyal, trustworthy, brave, reverent, and all the other things that a scout and scouter should be. He was funny and kind and good-natured, affable, and he touched the souls and hearts of everybody he met. I'm reminded of what Maya Angelou once said. She said, "People will forget what you did, they will forget what you say, but they will never forget how you made them feel." And Kent always made us feel welcomed, special, and important. May he rest in peace. We will indeed cherish his memory. Amen. I close with this poem. It's entitled Remember Me. Think of me when the pounding sea paws at the sand in savage glee, or the freezing wind on a winter's day sets the glittering ice-clad trees asway, or when in some broad open space you meet the night sky face to face, and up from the daisy field some noon, send me a thought because it's June, Oh, recollect I felt the worth of all the lovely things on earth, of burning leaves and shady trees, of snow and shy anemones, of stones washed clean in rippling brooks, of the joy of friends and the love of books, of faithful work and the brave noise of blithe expostulating girls and boys, of fire's multicolored spell, of you, my dear, that I loved so well. And in your love that was my pride, remember I lived, forget I died. We close with a final benediction. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord look down upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord look down upon you and grant you God's most precious blessing, the blessing of contentment of soul, of health, and of peace, now and always. And to that prayer we say, Amen.